One night, I woke up gasping, feeling like I had relived the same moment before. The scent of her perfume, the soft hum of the street lamp outside, everything felt eerily familiar. I sat up, rubbing my temples, trying to shake off the creeping sensation that something was terribly wrong. "Are you okay?" Jennifer murmured, still half asleep. I hesitated. "Yeah, just a weird dream." Except it wasn't, because the next day, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Her phone was unlocked on the kitchen counter. A notification flashed. "Loop successful. Reset initiated." Loop. Reset. My stomach twisted. I glanced over my shoulder. She was in the shower, humming softly. My hands shook as I scrolled through her messages. A name I didn't recognize. Smith. Messages filled with cryptic phrases. Did it work this time? I made sure he didn't remember. "Don't worry. I'll reset if anything goes wrong." I barely noticed the sound of the water shutting off. My pulse pounded in my ears. Jennifer stepped out, wrapped in a towel, her damp hair clinging to her shoulders. "Morning," she said, smiling. I stared at her, my mind racing. How long had this been happening? How many times had she erased my memories, rewritten my days? And most importantly, who the hell was Smith? Jennifer and I had been together for 5 years. 5 years of what I thought was love, trust, and understanding. I met her at a bookstore downtown, where she was lost in the science fiction section, flipping through a novel with an intense focus. I remember joking, "Are you looking for time travel instructions?" She had laughed, and from that moment, I was hooked. Jennifer was different, intelligent, mysterious, and always a step ahead of everyone else. She had this uncanny ability to predict things, to anticipate my thoughts before I even said them. I used to think it was just a deep connection between us. Soulmates, I had convinced myself. We moved in together after 2 years, and life with Jennifer felt almost too perfect. She rarely argued, never forgot important dates, and always seemed to know exactly what to say to make things right when I was upset. If I had a rough day at work, she had my favorite dinner ready before I even told her. If I was about to make a mistake, she somehow knew and stopped me just in time. I told myself she was just thoughtful, but now I wasn't so sure. I worked in software development, leading projects for a tech firm, while Jennifer worked as a researcher in quantum physics. She had always been obsessed with time, how it worked, how it could be manipulated. She spoke of it like an artist describing their masterpiece, passionate and lost in thought. The past, the present, the future, they're all connected in ways we don't even realize, she once told me, her green eyes gleaming with excitement. "If you had the chance to change something, just a small thing, would you?" I had laughed, brushing off her question. "I don't know, Jen. That's a lot of power for one person." She had just smiled, a smile I now recognized as something else. Not curiosity, not wonder, but knowing. I loved Jennifer. I trusted her. But after what I saw on her phone that morning, I couldn't ignore the creeping doubt in my mind. She had always been secretive about her work, claiming that it was complicated and I wouldn't understand. I never pushed. I respected her intelligence, admired the way her mind worked. Now I was questioning everything. As she moved around the apartment that morning, humming to herself, I felt like I was looking at a stranger. How much of my life with her was real? How much of it had been altered? And most importantly, how many times had she done it? I couldn't shake the unease that settled in my gut. The messages, the cryptic words, the notification about a loop, resetting. It wasn't just paranoia. Knew something was wrong. Jennifer was in the kitchen, making coffee, humming like nothing had changed. But for me, everything had. I needed answers. "Hey," I said casually, leaning against the doorway. "I had the weirdest dream last night." She turned, flashing me a smile. "Oh yeah, what about?" "I dreamt about us having the exact same conversation we had at dinner yesterday." word for word. For a split second, so quick, I almost missed it. Her expression faltered, but then she laughed. Well, that's creepy. Maybe you're just overworked. She said it so effortlessly, like she was trying to guide my thoughts, like she had an answer ready before I even asked. I smiled back, but inside, my mind was racing. That day at work, I couldn't focus. The words on my screen blurred together, as my mind spiraled into what-ifs. How long had she been doing this? What had she changed? Who was Smith? By the time I got home, my chest was tight with anxiety. Jennifer was curled up on the couch, reading, looking so normal, so real. But the doubt gnawed at me. I sat next to her, trying to act natural. Hey, can I borrow your phone for a sec? Mine's dead. Her fingers tightened around the device just. A tiny hesitation, barely noticeable. Then, she relaxed and handed it over with a smile. Of course. I took it, pretending to check something, but my hands were already working fast, swiping open her messages. Scrolling back to that conversation with Smith. And there it was. Smith, I think he's catching on. Be careful this time. Jennifer, I know, I'll handle it. My heart nearly stopped. This time, handle what? I looked up, and Jennifer was watching me. Not in panic, not in anger, in calm understanding, like she had expected this. Looking for something, she asked, her voice eerily steady. I couldn't answer. I couldn't even breathe. She sighed, setting her book aside. I was hoping I wouldn't have to explain this. I felt a chill rush through me. Explain what, Jennifer? She sat up straighter, her expression unreadable. You're not supposed to know. I gripped the phone tighter. Know what? That you've been resetting time. That I've been living inside some loop. Jennifer exhaled, rubbing her temples like this was exhausting for her. It's not that simple. I shot up from the couch. Then make it simple. My voice cracked. How long have you been doing this? She hesitated, and that hesitation was the real betrayal. How many times have you reset things, Jennifer? My voice was barely above a whisper now. Her gaze flickered guilt, hesitation, something else. Finally, she spoke. 17. The world spun around me. Double quotes, 17. My voice came out broken, 17 times. Jennifer stood up, reaching for me, but I stepped back. It's not what you think, not what I think. I let out a hollow laugh. Then tell me what it is, because right now, it looks like you've been rewriting our life. Like I've been living in a script that only you control. Her lips pressed together. I only did it to fix things, to make things right. Right for who? My throat tightened. Me or Smith? She flinched, and there it was. That name meant something. I swallowed hard. Who is he, Jennifer? She looked at me, something shifting in her gaze, like she was deciding whether or not to tell the truth. But I already knew. Smith wasn't just a name. He was the reason she was resetting time. My mind couldn't process it. 17 times. 17 versions of my life. 17 conversations I didn't remember. 17 choices I never actually made. I felt sick. Jennifer stood there, waiting, watching me like she always did, like she already knew how I would react. Maybe she did. Maybe she had seen this exact moment before. I backed away from her. Tell me who he is. She inhaled slowly, like she was bracing herself. Smith is important. I let out a cold laugh. Important? You mean more important than me? Her face twisted in pain. No, it's not like that. Then what is it like, Jennifer? Because right now, it looks like you've been erasing my memories and my choices to protect someone else. She didn't deny it. My chest tightened. Do I even want to know how this started? Jennifer exhaled, rubbing her hands together. I never meant for it to happen like this, she whispered. Then tell me how it happened. She hesitated, and I saw it again, that tiny flicker of indecision. like she was calculating whether to tell me or reset again. I took a sharp step forward. Don't even think about it. Jennifer swallowed hard. I didn't reset everything at first. It started small teeny corrections. You forgot your keys one morning, and you were late to work. I reset the day so you'd grab them and get there on time. My stomach twisted. That's not your decision to make. Her voice softened. I was just trying to help. I shook my head, stepping back. And then what? The changes got bigger. She closed her eyes. Smith was in danger. I froze. Danger. I didn't know whether to scream or collapse. So you reset my life to protect him. Jennifer's voice was barely above a whisper. It wasn't just him. It was everything. Every little mistake, every moment that could have gone wrong. She opened her eyes, filled with something almost like desperation. I fixed him. I fixed us. I felt like I had been punched. My entire life with her. Was it even real? Or had she just built a perfect version of us? One where I never even had a chance to choose for myself. Did you ever let me make my own mistakes, Jennifer? My voice was hoarse. Or did you just edit me until I fit into your version of the story? She flinched. It wasn't like that. Then tell me, I said, my voice rising, raw and desperate. If I wanted to leave, right now, would you let me? Or would you reset? Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't speak, and that silence told me everything. A suffocating feeling settled over me. My life, my choices, my entire reality, all of it had been rewritten at her hands. I backed away until my legs hit the couch. I collapsed into it, gripping my head. 17 resets. How many times had I figured it out before? How many times had she wiped it away? Please, she whispered, stepping toward me. I love you. I did this because I love you. I let out a bitter laugh. You don't love me, Jennifer. You love control. Her breath hitched. Silence stretched between us. Heavy, unbearable. I could feel my world crumbling, but the worst part, I didn't even know if it had ever been real in the first place. Jennifer stood motionless, watching me unravel, but I could see something shifting in her expression, something deeper than guilt, fear, not of me, of what came next. I pushed myself off the couch, my pulse thundering in my ears. If you love me, Jennifer, you'll tell me the truth. No more hiding. She hesitated again. I could almost see the gears turning in her mind, calculating, weighing the risks. Jennifer, I warned. Finally, she exhaled. You weren't supposed to find out. I clenched my fists. Yeah, well, I did. She swallowed hard, then did something I didn't expect. She walked over to her desk, opened a locked drawer, and pulled out a small, sleek black device about the size of a remote, covered in unfamiliar symbols. I stared at it. What is that? Jennifer hesitated. It's how I reset. A chill ran through me, the source of everything. I took a cautious step forward. And you've used that 17 times. She nodded. I could barely breathe. I reached out, but Jennifer tightened her grip. I can't let you take it, I scoffed. You're unbelievable. Then, suddenly the device beeped. Jennifer's head snapped toward it, eyes widening in real panic this time. What was that? I demanded. Her fingers trembled as she checked the screen. No, this wasn't supposed to happen. A horrible realization dawned on me. You're not in control anymore, are you? Jennifer's face paled. It's Smith. A shudder ran through me. What do you mean, it's Smith? She looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw true fear in her eyes. He knows. My stomach dropped. Knows what? Jennifer's grip on the device tightened. That you remember. A sharp knock on the door shattered the air between us. Jennifer's breath hitched. She turned toward me, whispering, "Don't answer it." The knocking came again, louder, more forceful. I glanced at her, then at the door. Is it him? Jennifer's silence was answer enough. Something inside me snapped. I stormed toward the door, but Jennifer grabbed my wrist. No, she hissed. If you open it, everything changes. I yanked my arm free. Everything already changed, Jennifer. Before she could stop me, I threw open the door. Smith stood there, tall, sharp, a presence that immediately made my skin crawl. He looked at me like he had seen me before. Because he had. Because he remembered. Jennifer took a shaky step forward. Smith, don't. His gaze never left me. So, he said, voice smooth, almost amused. This time, he made it further. I stiffened. What do you mean this time? Jennifer looked panicked now. Please, just go. We can fix this, Smith smirked. Fix? Jennifer, you lost control the moment he remembered. You can't reset without my approval anymore. Jennifer's eyes widened. She hadn't known that. For the first time, she looked as powerless as I felt. My pulse hammered. What the hell is going on? Smith took a step inside. You really think Jennifer was doing this alone? He turned to her. Tell him, Jen. Tell him who gave you the power to reset time in the first place. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I took a step back, my entire body ice cold. Oh my God. Jennifer had never been the one in charge. Smith was. And now, he wasn't letting her reset. The loop was broken, and whatever came next. I had no idea how it would end. The air in the apartment felt suffocating. Jennifer looked frozen in place, her fingers still wrapped around the device, but her knuckles were white, like she knew she'd already lost control. Smith took another step inside, slow and deliberate, his gaze locked onto me. He looked calm, too calm, like someone who had already played this scene before. Maybe he had, maybe in another version of this moment. I had let Jennifer reset before I could figure everything out, but not this time. I clenched my jaw. Tell me the truth, Jennifer. No more lies, no more resets. What is he to you? Jennifer let out a shaky breath, but it was Smith who answered. I'm the reason she could reset in the first place. I turned to him, anger flaring in my chest. And what? You just let her rewrite my life 17 times. Smith smirked. No, I told her to. Jennifer stiffened beside me. That's not true. Smith cocked his head, eyes gleaming with amusement. Isn't it though? You wanted to save me. You begged me for a way to change the past. I gave it to you. I warned you about the cost. His smirk deepened. And now, you don't like the price. My stomach churned. What price? Jennifer's voice came out hollow. You. I blinked. What? She turned to face me fully, eyes brimming with something between sorrow and guilt. The first reset wasn't about us. It was about Smith. Smith gave a mock bow. Finally, she tells you the truth. I swallowed hard. What did you do, Jennifer? Her lips trembled. The first time. Smith was supposed to die. The words hit me like a freight train, just she kept going, voice barely above a whisper. It was an accident, a car crash. He wasn't supposed to make it. She blinked back tears. But I couldn't let him go. My pulse pounded. So you reset time to save him? She nodded, but Smith let out a dark chuckle. That's what she tells herself, he said. But here's the real truth. Friend Jennifer didn't stop after saving me. Jennifer flinched. Stop it. Smith ignored her, his eyes locked onto me. She started small, tiny changes, correcting little things, then bigger things. Then she started controlling everything. My throat felt dry. I looked at Jennifer, my Jennifer, the woman I thought I loved. You kept resetting because you wanted everything to be perfect. Tears streamed down her face. I just wanted things to be right. Smith let out a laugh, but there was no humor in it. And now, she's not allowed to reset anymore. A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean? Smith pulled something from his coat pocket, a second device, identical to Jennifer's. Jennifer's breath hitched. No. Smith twirled it between his fingers. You thought you had control, Jennifer, but I gave you this power, and now, his smile faded. I'm taking it back. Jennifer lunged for him, but he sidestepped easily, pressing a button on his device. The moment he did, Jennifer collapsed. I barely caught her before she hit the floor. Jennifer. I shook her, but her body was limp, her eyes fluttering shut. I whipped my head toward Smith. What did you do? He stared down at her, his expression unreadable. She broke the rules. Rage burned in my chest. She trusted you. He met my gaze, completely unfazed. She thought she was untouchable. She thought she could play with time and never pay the price. He crouched beside me, lowering his voice. But you know what the real kicker is? I glared at him, my entire body tense. His lips curled into a smirk. This isn't the first time you've confronted her. The breath left my lungs. No, I shook my head. You're lying. Smith's grin widened, and my panic clawed at my chest. Jennifer reset 17 times. Smith shrugged. That's what she told you? A cold chill ran down my spine. How many times was it really? He leaned in closer, whispering the words like a secret meant just for me. 142. The room spun. Jennifer hadn't just rewritten my life 17 times. She had rewritten me. Everything I thought I knew, our relationship, our fights, our love, it had all been molded, altered, erased, and restarted over and over again. Smith stood up, dusting off his coat. I warned her that time was never meant to be controlled. She didn't listen. I could barely hear him over the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Jennifer had reset me 142 times. I wasn't real. I was just the version of me she had chosen to keep. Smith turned to leave, but before he did, he tossed something onto the floor beside me. Jennifer's reset device. I looked up at him, and for the first time, I saw something in his expression that wasn't amusement. Pity. Double quotes. She gave you a perfect life, he said softly. The question is, what are you going to do with it? And then he was gone. I sat there, Jennifer's unconscious body in my arms, the reset device cold against my skin, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I realized something horrifying. The power to reset everything was in my hands now. I could make this all disappear. I could bring her back, or I could walk away forever. I sat there, Jennifer limp in my arms, my mind racing, my breath shallow. 142 resets. 142 times she had erased me, rewritten me, sculpted a version of me that fit her vision. And now, for the first time, the power wasn't in her hands. It was in mine. I looked down at the reset device beside me, its sleek black surface reflecting the dim light of the apartment. It felt wrong in my hands, like something that should never have existed in the first place. And yet, I knew exactly what it could do. I could fix this. I could bring Jennifer back. Or, I could walk away. Jennifer stirred slightly, a soft groan escaping her lips. She wasn't fully conscious yet, but she would be soon. And when she woke up, she'd beg me to reset. Would she lie to me again? Try to erase this moment, manipulate me into forgetting everything? Probably. I clenched my jaw. I needed to know one thing before I made my decision. I turned on the device. The screen flickered to life, displaying a log of all previous resets. My hands trembled as I scrolled. Reset number 1. Jennifer saves Smith's life. Reset. #2. Jennifer prevents an argument. Reset number 5. Jennifer fixes a bad day. Reset. #19. Jennifer removes a conversation. Reset. #47. Jennifer alters an outcome. Reset number 81. Jennifer resets after he asks too many questions. Reset number 104. Jennifer resets after he discovers the truth. My vision blurred. I had found out before, and she had erased it. I almost dropped the device. How many times had I been this close to knowing, only to have my entire reality erased? Jennifer let out another weak groan. She was waking up. I had to decide. Now, I took a shaky breath, staring at the reset button. One press, and everything would go away. I could live in ignorance, just like before. I could let Jennifer take control again. But something inside me refused. I had spent years believing Jennifer loved me. But love wasn't control. Love wasn't taking away someone's choices. I wasn't going to let her do it again. I smashed the device against the floor. A sharp crack echoed through the apartment as the screen shattered. Sparks flickered, and then dash. Nothing. It was broken. Jennifer gasped awake, sitting up in panic. Her eyes darted around until they landed on me. She knew. She reached out, her voice breaking. No. What did you do? I stood up, stepping back. Away from her. I ended it. Tears streamed down her face. You don't understand. I was just trying to make things right. I shook my head. No. You were making things yours. Her breathing was uneven, desperate. I can fix this. She reached for the broken device, but I grabbed her wrist before she could touch it. No, Jennifer, you can't. She froze. For the first time, she looked truly powerless. A heavy silence filled the room. I could see it in her eyes. She had never prepared for this. She had always believed that, no matter what, she would be able to reset and try again. But now there was no escape. A sob broke from her lips. I didn't want to lose you. I exhaled slowly. You lost me the moment you decided my choices weren't mine to make. She let out a shuddering breath, her shoulders shaking. I'm so sorry. Maybe she was. Maybe she wasn't. But it didn't change anything. I turned toward the door. Goodbye, Jennifer. She flinched. Wait, where are you going? I didn't answer. I walked out. And for the first time in 142 versions of my life, I knew it was my own choice. Final shot. Jennifer sits alone in the apartment, staring at the broken device, knowing she will never be able to fix what she lost, and I step into the unknown, a future that is finally mine to decide.